Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
We are ready for the event.
CBS News Pass, Mission Control Center, Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
ISS, this is CBS at the Kennedy Space Center. How do you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear. Welcome aboard.
Well, thank you very much. It's glad to be here. And I guess, first of all, a belated happy Thanksgiving to you guys. I hope you got some time off, and wondering if you had a good meal up there.
Well, actually, Thanksgiving was a work day for us, but we did have a good meal, a little bit of turkey and stuffing and green beans and all the fixings.
That sounds great. And Mike is a former college football. I'm just going to keep this on the Thanksgiving theme for a minute. I know you're a former college football player, and I assume you've been following your favorite teams. I was just wondering if you guys had a chance to see any of the Alabama-Auburn game up there, either in replay or live.
No, we didn't actually get to see the game live or in replay, but I certainly have been following the news. I saw the results of it. It sounds like it was an incredible ending.
Yeah, it really was. You want to make any predictions about the bowl picture? I'm just wondering if you're okay with Ohio State at number 2, or would you rather see something else come up for the big game? The big game.
Well, I'm a Big Ten guy, so I'm very happy to see Ohio State at number 2. I think they got a great shot at it, and I look forward to them playing in the championship game.
Hey, Rick, Russian Progress ship just showed up, I guess, and understand you all had some gifts on board. I know you don't know what they are, but what are you planning to do for the holidays coming up?
Oh, we didn't know anything about gifts. Thanks for letting us know. We'll have to search that a little bit closer now. For the holidays, of course, being away from our family, the most important thing is we'll get to do some video conferencing with our families and friends and make some phone calls. And, of course, then we'll all get together up here, have a big meal, and just enjoy each other's company.
How about New Year's Eve? You guys got any plans to celebrate that?
Well, New Year's is actually not the eve, but the New Year's Day is a pretty big celebration day in Japan as well as in many other countries. I am planning to have rice cake. That's a traditional Japanese New Year's Day cuisine, so I'm looking forward to having that. And I'm going to be sharing that with Mike and Rick, whether or not they like it or not.
Well, Koichi, let me ask you another question along a different line. I know you were following Comet Ison, and I guess it went out in a blaze of glory as it went around the sun. We were all following that down here. I know you were planning on shooting that with a high-res 4K camera. I know you saw it on the way in. Can you describe what it looked like, and have you had a chance to get a glimpse of it on the way out or whatever's left of it?
Actually, the last time that I saw using the camera was already about 5 days ago, and it was really small, and I just saw it just before sunrise and just following the Mercury. And it was a very small tail, but it looked really vivid, and I was very lucky to be able to see such a dynamic event of the universe and comet, disappearing, when it goes around the sun. So I just felt that how small we are, and it's we were so lucky to be able to see that event while we were up here on board the station.
How's that camera working out, and what are you going to be doing with it in the coming weeks?
Actually, this past week I've been busy filming a lot of night city lights and also aurora borealis, especially over Canada. We already had like 5 or 6 pads flying over Canada area, and the camera captured really beautiful aurora pictures. So hopefully you'll be able to see that in the very near future.
Well, let me ask you one more real quick. When you've obviously spent a long time, you've been on the station before. What was it like getting back up to speed this time around? You're going to command the next increment, but was it like coming home again, or was it things you had to relearn?
Well, definitely. I flew 4 years ago, but as soon as I arrived here on board the space station, I felt as if I came back to my old office. And Mike is already really up to speed, so he gave us a really good handover. So it was very smooth, much smoother than 4 years ago when I first arrived here.
Rick, how about you? What's it like for a shuttle guy to get more than a couple of weeks in space?
Yeah, it's great. Coming up on 4 weeks, and I was joking with Koichi the other day, about 2 weeks ago. I said, don't we have a deorbit burn tomorrow or something? No, it's great. Settling in for the long run is great. I'm looking forward to working with the scientists on the ground, get some interesting research done. I'm really enjoying taking pictures out the window. I'm seeing things on the planet Earth that I never took the time to see before. So it's great living up here, and I'm glad I have this opportunity.
Mike, how about you? First flight up there. What's the most fun part of living in weightlessness?
Well, that's easy. It's weightlessness itself. For me, just being able to float around all the time has been an incredible experience. Every time you go into a module, you can changing your orientation, looking at things a little bit differently. It's fun. It's fun even when you're working because you're getting to float.
Guys, November 20th, I guess, marked the 15th anniversary of the station's first launch. I was wondering if any of y'all had any thoughts about that? I mean, 15 years is a long time for any spacecraft, but for something as complex as the station, it's quite an achievement.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Rick is the same, but we were involved in the assembly flights of the International Space Station. Also, I was involved in the development, designing of the ISS hardware, especially for the Japanese keyboard module. And it's really wonderful to see those systems working that we got involved in the planning and development status. And then right now, I see the science is going on, utilization is going on every day. So it's really great to see this stage of full utilization of the International Space Station.
Boeing just completed a study that pretty much came to the conclusion that you can safely operate the station through 2020, and really with just one or two other areas of concern, probably all the way to 2028, which would be the 30th anniversary of the first launch. What do you guys think about that? I mean, is this a machine you guys think can be maintained for that long? I mean, it just seems like an enormously long time for such a complex vehicle.
Well, the station, we took us 10 years or so to fully construct the space station, for various reasons. I think it's just starting to hit its stride, and I think the space shuttle program, if you look back at that, it's a good example of we learn how to operate these vehicles. We learn how to make them more and more efficient, and we operate them more and more safely every day that we use them. So I think the space station is just hitting its stride, and I have seen no reason we can't go another 5 or 10 years. And if the engineers say the hardware will hold together, we got lots of spare parts up here. We're ready to fix things as necessary. I don't see any reason not to keep going as long as we can.
What about, and I know I hate to ask you guys politics questions, but obviously to operate the station, you got to fund it. And NASA has a lot of stuff on its plate right now competing for those scarce dollars. Well, how do y'all see the value of station and ongoing research, considering that you're starting to pay for an exploration program, you're trying to encourage the development of commercial manned spacecraft, there's deficit concerns and all of that. What is the value of station in that constellation of competing interest? I'll put it like that.
Well, I think there's a whole lot of value to the station. It can range from the fact that this is allowing the crews to gain experience on operating vehicles of this nature. The science that's going on up here is absolutely incredible, not only for future exploration. So all of those programs down the road, there's still a lot of unanswered questions, and we're going to be trying to answer some of those while we're up here, and as well as Earth benefit that's coming out of that. So I think the value added is there, and I think it's certainly a benefit, and it's something that's going to be utilized in order for us to get ready to take that next step.
Well, guys are telling me I'm out of time. Have a great time up there. Look forward to talking with you down the road, and have a good holiday. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. It was great talking to you, and same. Have a great holiday.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the CBS News Path portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from KOMU-TV.
Station, this is KOMU-TV. How do you hear me?
Well, we hear you loud and clear. Welcome aboard, Columbia.
Thank you so much. I would like to start out talking about some of the most recent research and experiments happening on board the ISS if you guys would like to take turns just sharing some of those experiments.
Yeah, you bet. I'll start off by, you're looking at 3 guinea pigs right now. A lot of the research that's going on up here involves us and what happens to the human body and weightlessness. For example, we're doing research on the spinal cord and how it changes in the weightless environment, and so we're doing things like ultrasounds on it. And those ultrasounds are not only telling us what's happening to our spine, but we're developing techniques that can also be used for remote use down on Earth. So from that standpoint, the human research that we're doing not only is going to help us go further out into the universe and the solar system, but is also helping us right there on Earth.
Well, on the Japanese robotics operation side, we have deployed 4 satellites, actually using the Japanese robotic arm and airlock. Usually, when you talk about the satellite deploy, we usually use a rocket and then launch it from the ground. But we first bring it to the station and then using the robotic arm to deploy those small satellites. That's an experimental stage, but this has accomplished a lot. It makes it easier for the developers to package the small satellites and then deliver to orbit. This is one example of engineering experiments that we are doing here.
Yeah, from my perspective, I just arrived 4 weeks ago, so I like to say I'm still getting warmed up on the scientific research, but I have been involved in a few. Right now in the Columbus module, we're checking out a facility called BioLab, and once that is fully operational and up and checked out, we'll be doing experiments with the researchers on the ground in various things. And then there's also some fluid controls experiments that we're doing up here. So it's basically across the whole spectrum of various scientific fields that we're doing research up here. And where it leads is who knows. And that's why we do this research, because great things can come out of it.
All right, and I have actually kept up with some of those experiments through Twitter posts. Astro and I, Mike, can you talk to me a little bit about your use of social media to communicate with your Twitter following and then your family as well?
Yeah, you bet. To be honest, I really wasn't into the social media before, really about a year before launch. And then I started doing the Twitter. And I've really enjoyed it, actually. It's kind of fun to try and pick out those unique events that are happening up here on station, or unique views that we get to see either of the Earth or of the station itself, and share that with people. And that's a nice media for us to be able to do that. And so it's been quite enjoyable.
And while I have you, you grew up in rural Missouri. Can you talk to me a little bit about maybe a message you would like to send back to folks here in Missouri?
Yeah, I'd love to say hi to everybody in Missouri, and thanks for all the support over the years. I certainly wouldn't have gotten here without all of that. Missouri's a wonderful place. I haven't lived there long term since I finished high school and went off to college, but I certainly miss it, and I enjoy the time when I get to come back home.
All right. Now, some people view the space expeditions as costly and a large expense for the nation. Can you talk to me about how you guys think the work you are doing is really paying off and benefiting everybody down here on Earth?
Yes, it's of course it's quite expensive to build a space station and operate it and maintain it. But if you look at the overall cost to the it's less than 1% of the tax dollars goes to NASA. So we're talking, fractions of a penny from every dollar go to NASA. So in the scheme of things, it's not very much compared relative to other programs. But that doesn't mean we should be doing it unless it has good reason. And there have been many studies throughout the years, and I've seen numbers like a 7-to-1 ratio, where NASA, the dollars spent on NASA returned the economy 7 times over. So there's a lot of other studies out there that show similar numbers. But I think there's many other reasons that you can't quantify with just dollar values. Just the fact that as humans, we want to go and explore. We have a lot of questions that we want to get answered, and that's why we do the things we do. That's why we went to the moon. That's why we had the space shuttle program. That's why we're up here doing research on board the International Space Station right now in order to better life on Earth and in order to help us move further beyond the low Earth orbit. So a lot of good benefits, both monetarily and just for the human spirit, if you will.
All right, and if you would like to talk to me a little bit about how people are always curious how you acclimate once you get back on Earth. Have you done anything to prepare for when you are returning to Earth?
Yeah, well, let me first start to say there was an acclimation period when I first got up here. In fact, when I first arrived on station, when I first arrived in orbit, I felt like I was sitting upside down on a ceiling and falling. And that feeling stuck with me for probably the first 24 hours. And so there was certainly a period of time to get acclimated to the weightless environment and realizing that there's not really an up or down and you can just orientate yourself in any way. Since this is my first flight, I haven't landed yet, so I'm going to let one of these two talk about the other way.
Yeah, landing is very interesting. Vestibular system is a little, I don't know, not so used to this 1G environment. So for a day or two, it's somehow I have some balance issues. But after that, you go back to normal. When I first drove my car after landing, I thought I had a really luxurious car because I really felt the suspension got so nice. So, but it disappeared after a few days. And I was so surprised coming up here and going down. Human body can react to a new environment very quickly. We're so flexible, I think.
All right. And you are all spending the holidays in the ISS. What do you miss most besides your family while you are up there?
Yeah, that's a great question, and obviously we do miss our families, but all of our organizations, NASA and JAXA, they do a great job of helping us keep in touch with our families, so that certainly helps through the holiday season. But for me, I would say a couple things. Fresh produce is something that I certainly miss, and then being able to take a shower sometime would be nice.
And Mike, you played football at the University of Illinois. I don't know if you have been keeping up with Missouri football, but now we are advancing. And is there a message you would like to send maybe our Mizzou football team, being a former football player yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, congratulations to just an amazing season. Seasons like this don't come along very often, and so you just have to cherish that moment, not only for the football team, but also for all the fans, everybody out there that loves the game of football. It's just fantastic. Seize this moment because before you know it, it's gone, and you might find yourself floating on the space station and not playing football anymore.
And you had talked about they help you communicate with your families, through the holidays. Just talk to me a little bit more about how often you were able to speak with them and email, through the phone, and just the best way to communicate.
Yeah, it's pretty good setup up here. Obviously, we have email that we could send on a daily basis, but we also have what's called the IP phone, and it's we can make a phone call anytime there's video or KU coverage with the ground, and that's probably more than 50, maybe 60% of the time. And then once a week, we get a video conference with our spouses and our children, or with close friends if we want to. So it's great. It's a great way to keep in touch with the family back home, and even with our friends. And everybody enjoys getting a phone call from space every once in a while.
All right. And one last question, just from a weather standpoint, have you been able to see the phenomenon known as sprites up there? When lightning is above the clouds?
On this flight, I have not seen it yet. In my previous flights on the shuttle, I think I saw sprite, the lightning going up above the clouds. And this time we have really nice video cameras and photo cameras, so hopefully we will be able to capture some of those sprite events, and I'm looking forward to that opportunity.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, and good luck with the projects the rest of the day.
Thank you very much. It was great talking to you. Great talking to Missouri.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
And thank you, CBS News Path and KOMU-TV. Station Houston, we're resuming operational audio comm.